I needed our breakup to feel real so I could honor my process and move on.
This was like the first time where I was like, we're so far on opposite ends. I don't see it happening. I don't see us getting through this.
And there's a lot of people who are like, I want to be the reason my man does this. I want to be my man's reason. I want to be his purpose, not me.
You're always ready for confrontation. You're always ready for an argument or whatever you need to do. You're ready. Where sometimes I'm just like, no, not today.
I understood that it's not that you don't see the future in the same way as I do. It's that you don't express it in the same way as I do.
What's up, guys? We're back.
What's up, y'all? We're back.
I know it's been a minute.
It has, it's true.
It's been a minute. It's been, I think, like a few months.
2, almost 3 months.
Almost 3 months. And we're back. And we're together. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, welcome to the Hanging Out Forever podcast. We're back. We were gone for a little while, like we said. But, you know, we have collected again. We've worked through some things. We've gotten through some hard things.
Mm-hmm.
If you watched our last episode,
for all the people who are really tapped in with what we got going on,
yeah,
we did release We Broke Up episode. I was crying. He was sad. The kitty was trying to sit in our lap, and we were like, not right now.
Yeah.
And it was just really sad. And we had a whole episode where we weren't sure if we were going to get back together and talking about what the issues were in our relationship.
Yeah.
And we were really open in this one. We did make it private. So it's like for the OGs you saw.
It was for the people that we wanted to see it, who had been kind of like, where did they go? You know, people who were kind of searching for us. So that's who we put it out for.
A1s and day ones.
A1s and day ones. And then we took it down. And, you know, I think that we talked about a lot of things on there that were very, very personal to our relationship and to why we had broken up and all of that. So I think that it was very personal. It was like too personal to where it's like I don't want to share that much. You know what I mean? So that's why we took it down. We
promise that we would keep it real with y'all.
We keep it real. So
that's why we
do keep it real. But there are some things that we should
had to
keep between
recalibrate a few
us.
things.
Yeah. There's things that we should keep between us, you know. And we let a lot of it out in that podcast. And sorry to the people who are watching this now and can't go watch it, but
sucks for you. It was real juicy.
If you're a real fan, then you saw it.
If you're a real family,
yeah, then you saw it. So I think the people that were supposed to see it saw it, and we're back. And I mean, we're going to address, you know, what happened. We're not going to go into detail like we did in the last podcast, but I think that we should kind of address what happened. Okay. Yeah.
You want to lead, Grant?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'll take the lead on this, I guess. So, you know, it felt like for a few months there that we weren't fully connected, and, you know, I had a lot going on my end. I was, you know, anxious. I was scared for the future. I wasn't doing the best financially because, you know, I was kind of like in between jobs to a certain extent, you know, like I'm an entrepreneur and do lots of contracted work, but it felt like things had died down. And, you know, it was a really like hard time for on a lot of different levels. So it was just really tough. And that was kind of prying itself in between Asia and I's relationship, you know, and I think we both felt it. She felt it, but didn't really fully know what was going on because I wasn't really fully sharing with her the weight of everything and how I was feeling. And everything kind of imploded on itself, you know, everything kind of blew up all at once. And, you know, it felt like everything was falling around me, and it was a really hard time. And it was interesting because this is happening simultaneously with me starting to get new opportunities and me, you know, feeling better about my situation and about us and things like that. But it all happened at once. And so, yeah, so that happens. we break up. We break up. Everything seems done. Like it feels like this is the end. And I don't think I've ever really felt that in our relationship. Like there have been times where we had kind of blown up before,
Right.
and broken up.
Yeah.
But I still didn't feel like it was the end. I felt like, oh, we can work through this. We can get through this. But this time I really felt like I was like, I think this is it. I think this is the end. I think we both felt that. And so, yeah, everything happened. We broke up. While this is happening, things are starting to change in my life. Things are starting to get better, and things are starting to work out, and things that I had been working on are like starting to pull through. And, as that's happening, we're talking, and, we're not better. We're not good all of a sudden, we're still working through things, and it's still hard. And we're Asia, I don't want to speak for you, but I know that she was completely checked out at that point. And, so there was a lot of repairing that had to be done, and we started to repair a little bit. And, at first things weren't looking good. It didn't seem like it was really going anywhere. And then, there were a few discussions we had, and, just some real things happened to us, and things that brought us closer together. And it just brought us to a point where we're able to confront a lot of things, and things had happened where, I stepped up in a lot of ways. And so it built that trust back up. And I think that, it just over time kind of built that trust back.
Yeah.
That you needed. Mm-hmm. And now we're in a better place. I don't want to say we're completely through it, because, I still am striving to like grow and get better. And, I want to continue that. So, we're not fully through it, but we're in a much better place, probably a better place than we've ever been.
Dare I say.
And it's funny because every time we have one of these like blow ups, or not even a blow up, but just like a argument, like a real argument, every time that we get through it and we end up getting on the same page, it feels like we've gone to war together,
I feel like when you are fighting for your relationship, it is a form of war in a way.
Yeah.
Because I was done with you.
Yeah.
I was so done with you. And I couldn't wait around for the Grant that I knew that you could be anymore. Mm-hmm. And my issue was that, like, I feel like I spent so much time in our relationship I felt like I spent so much time in our relationship putting a lot into you, putting a lot into our relationship, and putting a lot into myself.
Yeah.
And at the end, when we broke up, all I could think about was, I can't believe I spent so much time on potential. And that's something that people tell women not to do, is don't date for potential. And I've always known how great you could be if you could just get out of your own head and out of your own way. Mm-hmm. And I always say, my favorite you is the version of you with money. And it's not because of a financial number. It's because of that confidence and that security and that forward thinking.
Well, there's a lot that comes with making money.
There's a lot that comes with making money.
Yeah, there's a lot that comes with it, and access and things that you're able to do, and and it adds to the relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're able to go on more dates. We're able to
and
just
it feels so
have
open.
more freedom together.
Yeah, it feels very open, and I feel like, I think that your perspective of our relationship and the breaking up phase was that we were only in this weird spot for 3-4 months. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I hadn't been getting you for a year.
Yeah.
I really don't feel like I had you for a year.
It was a tough year.
It was hard. It was definitely a hard year. There's a lot of things that were in flux. We had a really cushy corporate gig.
Yeah.
And that, they dissolved the company. So then we're like out here actually having to get real people jobs and stuff.
Just grind. We were like focused on grinding mainly. And so that kind of took over everything. It took over. And
Grinding in a relationship grinds you down.
Yeah. We got into that grind mentality too, where we're just like jumping from thing to thing and you're constantly searching for the next thing. And it was just, it takes up so much space.
Yeah.
And that was our life for a year.
Yeah. And I just felt like we were both outside of our relationship, and I really feel like I couldn't connect with you because I didn't know where you were. Yeah. I didn't know where you were for a year. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with you, what was going on. And then, at the end when we broke up, it was just like an avalanche of all these different issues that you were going through that I had no idea about. And that made me feel like isolated and sad and lied to and betrayed also in a way too, because it's like, I've been asking you, where are you? And
it was one of those things where I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, I don't want to like expose this stuff to her because I don't want to lose her and I don't want to push her away. But, me holding it in was already pushing you away. And then you kind of finding out this huge, exposure, then it was like, whoa, and that pushed you away more than, it could have if I was just being truthful and being like, hey, this is kind of the situation here, so yeah, that's obviously like a huge regret of mine, is just not feeling like I can be fully transparent with you on certain things. And I think that, I can be transparent with you. Like, I know that. And I think that, that I'm doing that now, and and that's who I am, that's who I usually am, is like, I'm able to be transparent with you and we can tell each other everything. That's always been our thing, and I think that we got lost for a little.
Yeah, we did. But, I said it to him, y'all, I'm going to say it to you. Us breaking up was the best thing that's ever happened in our relationship.
Yeah.
It's probably
it's crazy.
Like meeting
it's crazy.
And breaking up. Seriously, having this actual breakup. And yes, like, things were different, y'all. I had cut it off. We weren't talking. I was sleeping in a different bedroom. I wanted nothing to do with him. I didn't want to touch him. I wasn't asking about his day.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. Like, we were really not engaging on that level. And I was going around telling my family, like, there's like a 2% chance I ever get back with Grant. And I was devastated. And I felt like I was in mourning.
Yeah.
I was in mourning for 2 weeks, which doesn't sound like that much time when you think about how long we've been together. But I think that I have more of a masculine way of processing disappointment and pain, because they say that men are happy and they're fine when you break up. And then 3 months later, they're sad.
Yeah,
where women are sad immediately. And then 3 months later, they're fine.
I think women are better at processing their emotions.
Yeah.
Where men try to shove it down and then they're like, oh, I'll process it later.
That's kind of how I am, though. So like, when I was mourning, I was really into it for 2 weeks.
But you are like, you process it pretty quick, but you try to shove it down and then right away you're like regretful of it. You know what I mean? So
I guess it depends, because I felt no regret.
Maybe not regretful
with our relationship.
Yeah, maybe not regretful, but in the moment when it's happening, you can switch it off, the emotions off. But then, like a day later, you're feeling it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it was really hard. Like, I was listening to all these sad songs. There's a song by Giveon, y'all. It's called 20. And he's like, I put my heart in. Don't get me started. And then he's like,
I'm sitting in the other room.
I waste my 20s on you.
And I'm sitting in the other room listening to you listen to all these.
Did you really?
Music. Yeah.
Could you hear
I
me
hear like,
to sad
I'll
shit?
waste my 20s on you. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh God, she's talking about, he's talking about me. He's talking directly to me. Or about me.
Yeah, and it was just really hard.
He's kikiing with my girl in the next room. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't your girl at the time, but it was really hard. True. Like, I would drive to work and cry. I couldn't keep no lashes on for a week, 2 weeks, because I was constantly crying. I think that it was like, he cried.
It was like the first time I did cry, but I think it was like the first time too where I felt like I was like, this is it. It's done.
I know, me too.
And I was like actually processing that. Of it's done, because usually when we get in arguments or we, have fights about something, whatever, and we're on two totally different And I can still feel like, you know what, we're going to get through this. We're going to be able to get on the same page and have a conversation that will process through this. But this was like the first time where I was like, we're so far on opposite ends. Like, I don't see it happening. I don't see us getting through this, you know, unless some like miracle. Yeah. unless just some, you know, I don't even know. Yeah. I guess a miracle or just something drastic, you know, some drastic change or something, you know, and we had some situations where, you know, I think that I really stepped up
because I got
in a lot of different ways.
really sick, y'all.
Yeah. There's like
it was
there's
like
multiple things
violent.
that happened that, she just really needed me. And, I stepped up to the plate and I was there for her. And that was kind of the reminder she needed of, that he is my partner. And, you know, I mean, like that, this is who he is. And so
I think the biggest thing for us, one of the best outcomes of us breaking up was us realizing that we have individuality and our own autonomy because we were doing so much together. We have a podcast together. We filmed together. We worked together. We lived together. We were doing everything together. So it became our lives became so integrated that even though we think about each other as individuals, once we broke up, I really got the perspective of, I actually am not that much of an individual as I thought I was. And I didn't think that you were either. And, you know, I would ask you what you wanted for your life, and what you wanted would always be what I wanted. So I never felt like you wanted anything. You just wanted what I wanted. Yeah. And it got to the point where I was like, are you your own person? Am I my own person? And I'm so glad that we broke up because I got to see you move through the world on your own as an individual, fully autonomous outside of me. Yeah. And like, of course, we're still like living together, figuring out the living situation and stuff. But it was such a revelation. But it was, to be able to
separated.
See you do your own thing. You know, you're out, you're traveling for work, you're doing all these things, you're working with these people.
Our lives were separated.
Yeah, our lives were separated. And I don't think I realized at the time how much pressure it is to make our relationship our business. And I think that was something that was deteriorating our relationship as well, because we're trying to get monetized. We're trying to do this. We're trying to do that. We're trying to get views, trying to get brand deals. Yeah. And it's all a reflection of our relationship. And even though we feel like we're working as a couple, having to put our relationship out there as a platform, as something to monetize.
And having disagreements and stuff too throughout it.
And then figuring out where we stand and then trying to make money off of like wanting to be vulnerable with other people and sharing our journey. It really became a job. And I feel like our relationship became a job. And I don't think that we realized that we started curating our interactions even in the house. Like, I don't really know how to explain it, but now everything we do feels, this is our first podcast back, right? But
it does.
Now everything we do feels so much more organic.
Yeah.
And I want to be around you.
And I think it was also because we were vlogging too. Yeah. So like anytime we'd go out or do something, we'd have to like plan it and be like, oh, okay, so we're going to film and we're going to say this and do this. You know, it didn't feel as organic. Like now it feels way more organic. And I think that, that was another reason of why we wanted to kind of take a break, because we just wanted to step away from the podcast and live our own lives and do our own thing throughout the breakup. And even when we started to get back together, we were like starting to assess, like, what do we want to do with the podcast and hanging out forever? Like, where do we want to go with it? And I think that we came to really good, like, agreements on things, because, you know, I was thinking maybe we take it this way, and you were like, maybe we take it this way, and then we're like, no, how about we do it this way? And then we're like, oh, that's perfect, you know. And so it feels way more organic. It feels better now coming back into this, and I think it feels more lighthearted too. Like we were so serious about it, and so just, you know, every little thing could like set us off.
This feels like how it felt when we first started podcasting. Because when we first started podcasting, we were like, we just came in here to talk some shit and to be real about what our relationship is like. But then once the views come in, the comments start coming in, the criticism start coming in, the hate speech starts coming in, then you're like scared to be more authentically you. And the biggest thing that I personally learned while we were broken up was that I was busy hiding behind you for a lot of time. You know, I realized that there were so many things that I had integrated you into in my life because I was scared to go out and do it on my own.
Gotcha.
Now I'm like vlogging on my own content and it feels natural to me. It feels real. It feels honest and inspirational too. You know, whereas with you, it always felt prescribed in a way, like we had to do it because we're a couple. So why aren't we making additional couple content? But I've always wanted to vlog. And I
It's always
realized
been
that
more your thing.
that's my thing. And I realized that I'm doing Hanging Out Forever because I'm low-key scared to do anything on my own. Because if I have you there with me, there's a little bit of a cushion. You know, Hanging Out Forever is a brand. So when I say something crazy, it's not really me saying it. I'm hiding behind Hanging Out
And we
Forever.
should do it because we want to do it, not because it's what's comfortable.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And I realized that I needed to step out from behind our relationship because I started to become a relationship girl. And I feel like my whole identity was being crafted around being in a relationship with you. You know, we have a huge relationship platform and we have millions and millions of views and eyes on my face, eyes on your face, eyes on us. And then criticisms and critiques and like think pieces on our relationship too from other podcasts that have seen our podcast. And I started to like look at myself and my Instagram and my life and realize like, I don't want to be a brand. I don't want to be a brand. I just want to live. I just want to be a girl. I want to be a woman out there experiencing life without feeling like I need to be a woman with a man and letting that be something that defines me.
I think that it took us breaking up to kind of get that individuality and that independence. And, you know, and that's what happened. That's what happened. And we were able to do it while also working on us.
But we were broken up solidly for y'all. It's going to sound so pathetic, but it was like a month and a half.
But it was like
a
the
real
longest month of my life. Like
it was so
it
long.
felt like so much had happened. And, you know, it's because a lot freaking happened, you know, like, I mean, we had this big blow up, this big fight that was so dramatic and separated us, like ended our relationship. And then we had, you know, all these other incidents that were kind of bringing us closer together because it forced us to work together.
Yeah.
And, and then we just we were kind of forced into this like gulag of like having to figure out our relationship.
What's a gulag?
I think it's like a prison or something where you get thrown, they throw a bunch of people in there and then they have to like fight to the death.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's what I don't know. But we got thrown into, you know, a lot and we were kind of forced to deal with it and work on ourselves while doing that and then work together. So it just showed why we were together in the first place.
This is going to sound crazy, but I think that I don't want to say for the first time, but for the first time in a long time in our relationship, I feel like I'm actually actively choosing you.
Yeah.
Where we were together for so long that I felt like this is just a default setting now. I think that that's what happens to people.
That's what happens.
Is they stay together for so long that they're scared to go out and try other things or be with somebody else.
Well, it's like, this is all I know.
This is all I know.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that we broke up because I had so many questions like for the last 3 years on and off, kind of wondering where you were going to be and like how you were going to figure things out. And especially this last really difficult year for us, the whole time I was like, am I settling? Why am I here? I love him, but is that enough? And you know me, I don't think that love is enough. But I think that it took us breaking up for me to realize that you are my choice, not an option to me, not a fallback plan, not the kind of guy that I'm with just because I'm settling or I'm comfortable. I am incredibly comfortable with you. And I'm not settling in that. And I think I needed us to break up for me to realize and take a new level of charge in our relationship to be like, that's my man, I chose him. Because we got together when we were so young also. And I think that happens when people get together young. It kind of becomes this situation where, are we in love or have we just been together for so long?
The breakup, like, it forced us to kind of pry each other from each other.
Yeah.
You know, it pulled us apart and it just made it so we were able to do a lot of like personal thinking and debriefing and being like, this is, I mean, we had to get to a point where we're like, where we choose each other and we're just not like, oh, it's just because of the comfort. It's because of our living situations, because of the podcast we have together. We had to like pull and separate ourselves from all of that, and then look inward and then look at each other and be like, yes, this is what I want, And so that's what we did. That's how I feel, that's how I feel. That's how I feel what we did. And, I think it was, I think that what was going to happen happened, you know? I think that going through a breakup like this with certain couples, you could stay apart and be like, oh man, my life is so much better without her. You know what I mean? You could easily just go that route, or you can actually like do some deep critical thinking, of yourself and of your relationship, and really understand, is this what I want for my life? And you can come together from that. And I think that that's exactly what we did. We could have gone either way.
For you, something that made me change my respect for you, because of course, like when you're going through a really hard time with your partner, you do end up losing respect at some level, right? It might not be completely, some people lose respect and they cheat. We didn't do that, right? But I think that what made me have a whole new understanding and framework of respect for you was that when we broke up, I really thought your life was going to crumble into pieces. Like I was very concerned. There was a part of me that was like, is the reason his life is together because me? Like, am I the glue? And there's a lot of people who are like, I want to be the reason my man does this. I want to be my man's reason. I want to be his purpose, not me. I do not want to be your reason. I do not want to be your purpose, because if we had a family and something were to happen to me, what happens to you? Do you crumble?
Well,
are you able to handle
your
it?
own ambitions and your own
Exactly. And I
independence.
was not sure of that with you for probably like the last 2 to 3 years, to be honest. And then really the last year in total was really difficult for me to see you stand on your own outside of our relationship. And it's not like you're like a baby or anything like that.
I think
it was just like
it was
became
hard
codependent,
to get,
I think.
Yeah, and it was hard to get that perspective because everything in our life is so intertwined.
Yeah.
So you're like, if I wasn't a part of all of this, like how would he be able to, go through it or go through life? And so so you didn't have that perspective because everything we were doing is like we're so close. Right. And we do together for the most part, and for the longest time, basically like all the work we were doing was like together, and all the stuff we were doing with the podcast, obviously together. We lived together. We were working from home.
A lot of together.
Everything we were doing was intertwined. And
we had no separation from one another. And now I have me a big girl job, y'all. So I got to go into the office 4 days a week, boo, but it's a big girl job.
Boo. Yeah.
And a part of that was absolutely integral to our healing journey.
For sure.
Of being able to be together, because I'm gone. And I'm gone doing my thing. You're at home working, doing your work thing. And or you're out of town or I'm out of town. So it was very much two ships passing in the night for about a month.
Yeah.
And then some really intense stuff happened, and I got really, really sick, like really sick, guys. But it's not, and you took care of me so well, but I never had a doubt in my mind about how you would take care of me.
Yeah. I've always been good at taking care of you in certain situations and things like that, So, I mean, I think that's the thing too, is like, we've also been together for so long that there's maybe been like time that's passed where you forget certain things, like you forget certain things about your partner or things that they would do for you. And, maybe you guys have gotten in such a routine that they're not showing out the same that they were, a couple years ago. So that might get lost. And so I think that there was a lot of different incidents with us that happened and kind of re-sparked that memory of, oh yeah, this is who he is. He takes care of me. He's, trustworthy. He takes initiative. He does all these things. Like, I just needed to see it again.
From the outside.
Yeah. I just needed to see it from the outside. And so, yeah, that's the thing too. We had to kind of get pulled apart to be able to see it within ourselves, and then to see it, within each other.
And I had to make the breakup very real. Like, I was telling people we were done.
Yeah, she was telling people left and right.
I was telling people we were done because I
Yeah.
needed that to be a part of my journey. I needed to accept that we are no longer together and understand that as my truth and move forward with that information and craft myself around who I am now.
Do you think that's like
without
a woman thing and a man thing? Like the women are going to go and kind of not kiki, but spread the word. And then men are just going to,
Spread the word.
men are just going to kind of be like, you know what, I'll just deal with this on my own and I'm just going to hold it in and I'll tell a couple of my friends, but like, I don't want to, you know, make it so
You
real.
ain't tell none of your friends.
I was talking about it with,
You
with a couple
told
of my
one
friends.
guy, and the other guy you
Yeah.
told because I posted about it and he asked you.
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, that's the thing though. I don't like sharing all of that with people. You know what I mean? Like that's how I've always been
know.
with certain things.
But for me, I needed our breakup to feel real so I could honor my process and move on. If I never made it feel real, there's no way we'd be back together right now.
Okay.
There's no way because I couldn't play house with you. You
Yeah.
were still trying to play house with me. So if I had never been like, no, we not together. You ain't finna call me baby. You better stop calling me that. Call
Yeah.
me Asia.
I mean, that makes sense.
Don't
Those types
kiss
of
me.
boundaries and
You know
things
what I
like that
mean?
made sense. Yeah.
And I think that I had to set those boundaries in our relationship for you to understand that I was done.
Mm-hmm.
But I also had to be honest with myself and my people and my family who's so incredibly invested in our relationship.
yeah.
Every step of the way, I had to tell them, hey, me and Grant are broken up. So there's a 2% chance we're ever going to get back together. So never say never, 2%. You know,
2%. Yeah.
he always walks again.
I'll take
so,
He always walks again.
I love that thing.
He'll
what
never
joke
walk
is
again.
that? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
he always.
just-
Yeah.
that guy always walks again.
Yeah. There's like this joke, some comedian.
Andrew Santino.
Oh, yeah. He's talking about how doctors don't know what the hell they're talking about. Some guy gets paralyzed from the legs down and
He's
they say
never gonna walk
he's
again.
never going to walk again. And then he's like, he always walks again. But it was important for me to go through that process because had I not been like, we're done, had I not opened my mind up to living life in a completely different manner,
Yeah.
had I not, started imagining what my life could be like without you, if I had pined over you that whole time, we wouldn't be together because I would have never been able to find my own individuality.
Yeah.
Because we would have been playing house, and that is not a conducive environment for me to heal with you because I would have felt like I was settling again. Like I just allowed myself to settle.
Yeah.
Here I go, just on the downhill of settling.
It felt real, you know?
It was
It
real.
was real. Yeah. So I
It
mean,
was
like,
real.
it felt real.
I announced it on my Instagram.
Everything that was happening was real about it. So, you know, it,
Yeah.
it did what it needed to do.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And I know that for you, you didn't, and you asked me, do you think that women need to announce it versus men? I think it depends. Like, I think a man that does not like his girl at all, like doesn't love her, doesn't respect her, the minute they break up, he's telling everybody.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
on
he's
the
like,
gram talking about
single.
I'm a free man,
Yeah.
single, LOL, posting on a story,
Yeah.
But I think that women who are really in love with their men, I think for me, I can speak for myself, we typically post about it because I'm not finna let the world find out that I'm no longer in a relationship because a man said something first. I'll be damned.
But that is like so
I
not
got to
me.
get ahead of it.
Like, I don't post anything
and I
like
didn't think
personally
that you
happening
would,
in my life.
but it was
Yeah.
also me having to, again, be real about this is where I'm at. And I had to make it as real for me as possible.
Yeah. Well,
Because I
that's
just
the
don't
thing.
think
I
that
know
we
you're
would've-
not out here posting about it because you're like, hey boys.
Hey, boys.
I'm ready to go. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm single and ready to mingle.
I don't know if you think that because you asked me. You were like, what was the point of posting that? I unfollowed him, y'all. I made
Well,
him
that's not the
unfollow
first
me.
time. Every time we have like an argument, she blocks me on like everything. It's so dumb, but
That's not
that's
true.
why I love her.
That's not true. He likes petty girls, y'all. Grant
Eh,
likes a
I
problem.
like a little bit of pettiness.
Yeah, you
A
do.
little bit of pettiness.
He likes to.
A little bit of pride, a little bit of pettiness.
He likes to try to rein me in, which I like too, I guess.
Yeah, she likes that too. Yeah.
And y'all, he's got this may be TMI, but I just feel like your newfound confidence has made you so much more aggressive, and I'm into that.
Well, I
because
think-
he'd be like, "You're not gonna talk to me like that."
Well,
I'm like,
it's just
okay.
I think that the best thing about having a argument or like breaking up from it and then coming back is you find out that you can get through these things and you have it is like a newfound confidence almost, because it's like, oh yeah, we got through that. Like, and I was able to express myself fully, and we were able to see where each other are coming from. So it's like you have this feeling of like, oh yeah, I can express myself, you know? So it's good to have those arguments because it brings like a whole new comfortability of being able to have real conversation, and you can, you know, express how you're feeling in certain moments, and you should create those boundaries, and you should feel like you're able to have those conversations with your partner, you know? And so, and I think that sometimes an argument or not seeing eye to eye does that, you know, it brings that out of you of being like, no, you know what, this is how I feel about it, you know, or this, I don't like it when you do this, you know what I mean? Like, let's discuss, you know what I mean?
He be sitting me down, y'all. He's like, we need to talk. I'm like,
I know she hates it because I've never been that guy.
I kind of like it though.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm into it.
You do like it because, well, you like it because you like when I express myself and
it's like a take charge thing, which I feel that you've had more confidence to do. And I think that, you know, everything that we went through, you know, behind the scenes over this last like 2-3 months, really gave you the confidence to make decisions without having to run it past me. And that was always something that I was scared of too, is how I can be a micromanager. So how is my type A micromanage-esque? Okay, I was inviting her.
I know, she just always comes here.
Me, I guess. How does my type A micromanaging personality force you to not show up?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been a concern is, are you this way because of me? And so sometimes there were things that I would internalize because I wasn't sure if you were that way or if you were that way because of me. And I think that getting sick and everything else that happened like behind the scenes with us allowed you to step up and take charge. And now you know that I trust you again in a way that maybe you didn't feel like I trusted you for a year or so or something.
Yeah, I think a lot of things had gotten lost along the way of our relationship, you know, and I think that we just needed to bring them back and, you know, just make them a part of us again, make them a part of our relationship again. And that's what we did, you know, at the end of the day, like we were able to communicate properly through all this. We both stepped up to the plate, you know, instead of us turning the opposite way and being like, screw it, like I'm not going to put the effort in, I'm done. You know, we did the opposite. We turned towards each other and faced it. And we went in we gave it all we got, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's what made everything just so much better, you know? And I think that if you're in a relationship where you guys have disagreements and arguments, but at the end of that argument, you guys come out understanding one another more than ever, then, you know, that's a healthy relationship right there. If you go through an argument and you just sweep everything under the rug and you guys still both feel a little shitty at the end of it, that's not you getting through it, you know. That's you suppressing something that's going to blow up. And we really faced it, you know. We really faced things.
And I have a completely new understanding of you and your personality, because there were things about you, even being together for 9 years, that I really didn't understand.
Yeah.
I would say things like, hey, what do you think about this? And it never felt like you could imagine a world where our life was different with me. And I mean that in the sense of, I'm like, wouldn't it be great to have this house and this yard and this and this? I'm a very big what if person. I can paint an entire, you know, lifestyle or
world.
I can paint an entire world just from what ifs.
Yeah.
And what I didn't understand about you is that you are incredibly tangible. So in order to play into a what if scenario about how great our life could be and how many great things we could have and what that would look like, you need to have certain things happening in your life for you to actually see it.
Yeah.
Because then you were, you know, you're not like just saying it right now.
I like to take one step at a time and kind of focus on what's in front of me.
Yeah.
Instead of like what's ahead of me.
Yeah.
You know? I've just never been that way. I don't know. Like I have big goals and big dreams, but what I'm really focused on is like what's in front of me to get there. Not I don't have my eye on the prize. You know, like I got my eye
and
on.
I think that that's what I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Is I'm always like me there, but sometimes because I think that way, I trip along the way. But you're like me,
Or you get frustrated and
Yeah.
you get impatient and you get all these
and you're very
things.
much like me there. But right now,
And then I'll get there.
Exactly.
And then there and
so
there.
you're like leapfrogging, lily padding, I guess.
Lily padding.
Right. From one place to the next. And I'm just Frogger. I'm just trying to cross the freeway.
Yeah, you're getting squished along the way.
And I didn't
think-
understand that about you. I couldn't understand why you saw our future differently than I did. And I think we saw them similarly, but I never felt like you were able to express what your wants were for our future in the same way that I was. And it wasn't until I had to take a step back and breaking up in our relationship that I understood that it's not that you don't see the future in the same way as I do. It's that you don't express it in the same way as I do.
I think also we see the same future, we just see a different path.
Yeah.
You know, so we see a different path and we see a different way of getting there.
And I didn't know what your path was because
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like you don't talk
And I
to me.
wasn't good at expressing
Yeah.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt
that's
locked
something I've always dealt with in our relationship, you know, is communicating, especially with you, because you do such a high volume of communication throughout the day, like from a day-to-day basis, where like one day I'm just not feeling it, you know, I'm just not feeling like communicating as much. I'm not feeling like I have all this energy that I want to express and put out into the world. And then there are other days where I'm like super talkative and I'm, you know, like really happy-go-lucky and I'm just like have a lot of energy. So, you know, where compared to you, like you're always ready to go. You're always ready to have a conversation. You're always ready for confrontation. You're always ready for an argument or whatever you need to do. You're ready. You know what I mean? Where sometimes I'm just like, no, not today, you know? And so I think that took time for you to understand where I was coming from on that, in that way. But I also had to adjust things to your lifestyle and to how you are too. You know, like you love being celebrated and you love surprises and you love, you know, things that just kind of happen out of the blue. So I had to adjust to that and be like, okay, like let me make sure that I really build up a lot of energy because, you know, she got a raise. So like I need to give that energy of like, I need to give that congratulations energy. And you need that from the people you love because you give that to people that you love. So you want to receive it, which it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like you go above and beyond for people. Like you want people to go above and beyond for you too. So that makes complete sense to me. And I think that was just something that I needed to adjust to and get better at. And I think over time I have gotten better with that and made sure that you feel like you're receiving that energy. And so I think over this most recent time, you know, there was a lot of things that got brought to light. Just kind of things that we kind of had to rehash, like with the thing I just said of like bringing the energy and excitement to you. And I think that it opened up a lot of things that we had worked on in the past, but we might not have like kind of, you know, shut the case or whatever. And so it kind of reopened
Closing
those
Pandora's box.
Yeah, like we didn't fully shut those things and we didn't fully like get through those. But now I feel like we've, you know, gotten through so much in such a small amount of time, but it took, you know, it was like 10 years to be a overnight success, you know.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I realized how often I would think about, during our breakup, I realized how often I would think about what you weren't.
Mm-hmm.
He's not this, he's not that, he's not making this, he's not doing that, he's not. And once I got to the other side, I started thinking about everything that you were. Once we kind of went through all our crazy stuff during the breakup period, I started focusing on what you were.
Yeah.
And I needed that. I needed that so bad, because for me as a person, I often focus on what isn't happening. So it's not even just isolated to you. I'm the type of person where it's like, if everything is perfect, the one wrong thing that's wrong gonna set me off.
Yeah.
Because I need it to be like
perfect. Yeah.
perfect. And I would constantly think, he's not this, he's not that, he's not this. I wish he was. I wish. And then once we broke up, I was able to take a major step back and just look at everything.
Change your perspective.
Yeah, I needed to change my perspective. You know, because I'm staring at you like this, but maybe I need to look at you like this. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's perspective.
It's like you need to change your perspective.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you need distance from each other to get a new perspective
I
of one
needed
another.
a full scope of
Yeah.
who you were. And something that was really impactful to me was watching how you communicate with the people that are in your community and how much they love and respect you and how much they cherish and value your input and your ideas and your presence. And I got to a point where I was like, these people see something about him that I'm having a hard time seeing. What is it that is not clicking for me? And so during our breakup, I was able to see like so many, I'll get into it maybe later on another episode, but I was able to see you from a wider scope, a bigger perspective.
That's interesting.
And you as a whole, instead of what you weren't doing for me or what I didn't feel like you were in these moments.
Yeah.
And now I don't have a doubt that you'll show up for me in certain ways. And
I think
and yourself.
You've seen that I'm so much more than just this guy you were dating, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You saw me. And I think that obviously like you wouldn't be dating me if you didn't like think I was a good guy and think I was interesting and all these things. But that's really interesting to describe it in that way of like you saw kind of my community around me and how they interacted with me and how they respected me and how they thought of me. And you're like, oh, let me get into that perspective of like how they see him. And that changed your perspective. That's really interesting, actually. You know, and you never told me about that. Yeah,
No,
we never really talked about that.
That was something that I went through that was like a silent thing. There was a few, you know, there's different things that I went through during our breakup period that were silent realizations. But that was a really major one for me to reframe how I felt about you and relearn how to respect you as a person.
Yeah.
Instead of this guy that I was dating who's pissed me off or like may have made me feel let down. And I also had to get over all the times I felt pissed off and let down. And so I feel as though now we're going into this new era of our relationship without me being like, you remember that one time you didn't come through?
You know what? Now that you say that, it really does feel like we've healed a lot of scars from the past.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of scars from the beginning of our relationship that would still come up and still you know, hurt us and put stops in our relationship and our growth. And it does feel like you've gotten over a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I mean, it obviously is from this perspective that you're talking about of, oh, he's not that guy anymore. He's this guy that's in front of me that I'm seeing that, you know, these people respect and that I respect and all these things. Like it's interesting that, you know, I can feel it, you know, I can feel that there's this new found, I don't want to say respect, 'cause I feel like you've always had respect for me. You know, I've always felt respected by you, supported, all that. But, it's like a new perspective, and it's like a healing from the past that we're seeing the result of now, you know?
Yeah.
No, it feels like we've healed a lot of things in our relationship, and it took us breaking up, separating, growing our independence, and getting a new perspective on it. So yeah, I think
that's it. I felt like I wanted to say one more thing, but it wasn't going to like drag on to a whole thing. But the last thing I'll say is I realized there were just moments in our relationship or during our breakup where I would just sit there and think, wow, like I love him. And I didn't think that I did. I thought that I was convincing myself that I did because we were together for so long. At a certain point, it becomes that where it's just like, am I in love with him? You know? And during our breakup, I really, truly realized that I am, and not in a way that's a default setting, not in a way that's a settling
It's real
aspect. It's real.
It's a real feeling.
It's like on a cellular level, like being with you.
I think that's what you learn in those moments is, could I live with or without this person?
I mean, of course you can.
I mean,
but like, what would you prefer?
No, but it's like,
know?
but what would make my life the most fulfilled? Would it be me just leaving and doing my own thing and being like, you know what, that was great, but I'm leaving it in the past? Or would I feel more fulfilled by staying, getting through it? It's going to be hard, but you know, we can work it out. And in the end, I get this amazing partner, and I get the love of my life, and I get a husband, and, you know, the father of my children. I get all these amazing things. So it's kind of like you have to take one path or the other, you know? Yeah. And I think that we took the path back to one another, and now I see a path with all of those things I just named. I see my wife. I see
me too.
The mother.
I don't see my wife, but
oh yeah, me too. I see the mother of my children. I see a partner that I'm gonna live with till I die. You know, that I'm gonna be with until I die. That's what I see, and so I'm just so glad that we found the right path for us.
Me too. Mm-hmm. I'm really grateful, and I'm grateful to have chosen one another and to make the conscious effort to fix the things that were fractured. I don't want to say they were broken, but fractured. You know, you go out of your way to hyper communicate with me now. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say I go out of my way, but like I really had to decide, okay, if we do this again, I got to leave all that shit in the past. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm just really proud of us.
Me too. And I think that we made the right decision for us, and we made the decision that we feel is going to make our lives the most fulfilled and the most happy, you know?
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that we ended up choosing each other, you know?
Too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys.
That's it, guys. But Grant got a little...
Oh, yeah. Let me, for the camera, it's a little dry right now, but maybe we zoom in or something.
No, go like this.
Go like that.
Go like this. Oh, it's an A. Yeah, that's
right.
A.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's it. Mm-hmm. So I got this because
he got my initial tatted on his ring finger.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
We're not, you know, we're not officially engaged or anything like that. But you know, throughout this whole process and just a lot of like thinking in general, you know, this is the person I want to marry, and until we do that, you know, this finger is reserved for her. So, you know, that she's marked it. And
well, he marked it. I didn't do it myself.
I marked it, and it's reserved for Asia. So that's what this symbolizes, you know.
That's so sweet. And it was such a great surprise. Like we were back together by that time, and he was like, gave me this beautiful speech about how he wants to be with me and blah blah, and we're gonna have a wedding, which is true. Mm-hmm. We're gonna do that later, but and then he was like, but until then, and I was like,
yeah.
So obviously sploosh.
Yeah, sploosh.
Big sploosh.
That's a sploosh.
And that's really it, y'all. We love y'all. We missed y'all. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. We back.
And so so we're gonna continue to do episodes
bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly. Maybe we'll get to a weekly point. And we also have we know you guys like the street segments, and you know we've had a lot of thinking and conversations about the street segments because we like doing them and we love talking to people, but we don't really like the negativity and like the toxicity that it kind of brings. Talking to some of these people and putting their stories out there, but we've come to a conclusion of like how we want to go about it, and we have new street segments, and it's like a totally new format, totally different format, and we're going to be releasing those as short content and full length longer content. So that's coming. So wait for that.
And don't forget the dating show's coming too, but we had to get it together.
Dating show is coming too. We just got to get some things together, but we have big plans for the channel.
Huge plans.
We've got big plans for the channel, and we're back. And yeah, that's what it is. Let's
and
go.
we love y'all. And shout out to all of our day ones.
Shout out to everybody. Top man,
Pedro.
Bobby Lee. Just, shout out.
Shout out.
I can't think of everybody right now. But,
Yeah, sorry. I can't.
But we're back, guys. We're back. So tune in for, whatever content we have coming next.
Bye, guys.
Peace.